Welcome to the latest edition of the SNews here at LonghornStation.com. Ahmad Brooks and John Medani, we host the Wake Up Call Monday through Friday from 6 to 9. And on this Top 5 Tuesday, we are giving you our choices for the top 5 coaches in men's college basketball right now. Final Four is upon us. We thought it was only fitting to reveal this list. You won't find Adolph Rupp, Bobby Knight, or even the Wizard of Westwood, John Wooden, because these are active coaches. And it's a tough list. Who you have at number 5?
I got to stay around here at 40 acres, and I got to give mad props to Rick Barnes. I know a lot of people might disagree with this pick. He's the only coach on my list who doesn't have a national championship that he's claimed. But I will say this. 5 of the last 7 years entering this year, Texas had gotten to the Sweet 16, joining only Kansas and Kentucky. Or North Carolina, pardon me, which to me is just downright amazing. And then you look at the talent that he has actually brought into this university, from Kevin Durant, TJ Ford, the way he groomed Chris Mem when Chris Mem was here and allowed him to be a Big 12 Player of the Year. Rick Barnes has done a phenomenal job of trying to make a basketball program relevant that hasn't been relevant at the University of Texas. And I mean, he could go anywhere in the country. All these other jobs, he's been named as a candidate, but he's been here at the University of Texas, and for me, I think it's just a matter of time before he gets his.
Number 5 on my list is Jim Boeheim, and this is tough. I'll tell you, there's a lot of good coaches not on the list. You'll realize that when we're done here. Jim Boeheim. Why Jim Boeheim? Well, 20-win seasons are a pretty good measuring stick. He's got 32 of them. 32 20-win seasons. He led his Syracuse Orangemen to the championship game in '87, in '96, in 2003. He was the number 1 seed this year in 2010. What does that mean? That means that even though he's getting older, the kids he's recruiting are the same age. That means he can relate. That is a very hard thing to do in college basketball, especially with these kids. He somehow recruits them to Syracuse, New York, not Manhattan, Syracuse, upstate, 20 inches of snow. Nobody wants to go there to play an antiquated style which employs a 2-3 zone defense, which they don't play in the NBA. I don't know how he gets kids. He's gotten them for 30-something years. He's got a national championship. Jim Boeheim, number 5 on my list.
For me, number 4 is I had to dig deep for this one. I really did. And I had to look at the basketball landscape over the last 10 years. And this guy's got 2 national championships. That being said, Billy Donovan from Florida is number 4 on my list. I do believe that the same way that I talked about Rick Barnes trying to make this Texas basketball program relevant, that's exactly what Billy Donovan did at Florida. 06-07 championship, not only was he able to win that championship, it was those 7 years leading up to it that he was very successful. And I think his energy and passion, you can clearly see it when he's on the sideline. These players respond to him. It was the reason why those guys came back. I mean, he had all 5 starters return. Part of it was Billy Donovan. I think it's just a matter of time that you see him back at the height. It's going to be very fun to see him and Calipari go at it over the next couple years, battling for the SEC championship. But Florida and Billy Donovan coming in at number 4 for me. I
don't have Billy Donovan, but he's probably the best combination player coach on this list. Guy could play a little
That's
ball
fair.
when he was playing at Providence.
That's
We got to pick up the pace a little bit. Number 4 on my list is Jim Calhoun. Jim Calhoun was a good basketball coach before UConn found him. He was at a little place called Northeastern, which is outside of Boston. 5 NCAA tournament appearances in 6 seasons. And you go back and look at some of those smaller conferences. Usually each year it's a different team that comes to the forefront and gets that bid to the NCAA tournament. He got Northeastern there 5 times in 6 years, then went to UConn. National titles in '99, national titles in '04, and the nemesis for Mike Krzyzewski. You go back and look, whenever Duke fell short, it was UConn that was getting it done. And how many players has Jim Calhoun sent to the NBA? It's unbelievable. If you do a search right now of active UConn players in the NBA, talk about a who's who. You could come up with an all-pro team. Jim Calhoun, number 4 on my list.
For me, number 3, Roy Williams. One of the few gentlemen on this list that has coached at 2 top-notch programs, that being Kansas, that being North Carolina. His arrival there in North Carolina was so big. People felt like it was the prodigal son returning home. And he's done a great job, a fantastic job. Here's his 5-year stretch is one of the best in North Carolina basketball history. That includes Dean Smith. Move over. 2 national titles, 3 Final Fours, 4 Final Eights, 4 NCAA tournament number 1 seeds, 5 top 5 or top 10 finishes. I can't believe that. I mean, that is amazing. Roy Williams, what he's been able to accomplish, and they just won the championship a year ago.
Last year, yeah.
So I mean, this team can play, and I think Roy Williams, as long as he can recruit top-notch talent and be at North Carolina, this guy will continue to move up the charts when it comes to wins.
That shows you how hard this list is. I don't have Roy Williams, Billy Donovan, or Rick Barnes on my list, and they're all good coaches. Number 3 on my list is Rick Pitino. Rick Pitino has bounced around a little bit, but at Boston University, at Providence, at Kentucky, at Louisville. I mean, still, since John Calipari's Kentucky Wildcats lost to West Virginia, Rick Pitino's still the only man ever to take 3 different programs to the Final Four. Providence, Kentucky, and Louisville. And go back and look at that Kentucky roster from 96. 1996, 97, 98. Kentucky was in the championship game 3 straight years. They beat Syracuse in 96. They lost to Arizona in overtime in the championship game. Pitino's last year before he went to the Celtics thought he was going to get Tim Duncan, and he didn't. And then Tubby Smith came aboard, did a nice coaching job, and won a title. Those were Rick Pitino's guys, though. Rick Pitino, amazing. Another coach like Boeheim that has withstood the test of time. Number 3 on my list.
I'm not laughing at you guys. I'm laughing at Ellie, who's outside trying to make us laugh.
Put your top back on, Ellie.
Number 2 for me is Coach K.
That's wrong.
Let me explain something to you. There aren't many coaches that you can say Coach K, and people know who you're referring to. What he's been able to accomplish at Duke is just amazing. It's the intangibles that he carries, the integrity that he carries. It's well documented. Won championships, 91, 92, of course, and 2001. He finds himself back in the Final Four again this year. That's why he's on my list. And the guy that he's behind is the only guy on this list that has gone to more Final Four appearances during this stretch. But Coach K, what he's been able to do, his story from being there at Army with Bobby Knight and the list goes on, Bill Parcells. I mean, his coaching pedigree is outstanding. And on top of that, he led the 2008 USA Olympic team to bringing the gold home medal, the gold medal back home. That's all I need to say.
And I can speed this up a little bit because it's funny. We were completely different on 3, 4, and 5, but we're identical on 2 and 1. He's got Coach K at 2. He's number 1 on my list. The tiebreaker was the Olympic gold medal. Number 2 on my list, number 1 on your list is Tom Izzo. 6 Final Fours in 12 years, recruiting kids to godforsaken East Lansing, Michigan, an entire state which is completely depressed. You can buy a house for $1.49. It's amazing the success he has had. Coach K and Tom Izzo, will they be breaking the tie for best ever next Monday night in the championship? Got to watch the Final Four to find out. Join us tomorrow morning, 6 o'clock, the wake-up call, here on AM 1300 The Zone.